For Mike Wolfe, it was never just about objects. It was about the bond people formed with the things they held onto and why those items mattered to them. That belief shaped a life that would eventually make him famous, wealthy, and deeply conflicted. Today, his Tennessee estate sits on 32 acres of quiet countryside, filled with vintage motorcycles and restored relics. But behind that success is a story marked by sacrifice, broken relationships, and a cost that fame demanded long before the cameras ever arrived. Mike Wolfe was born on June 11, 1964, in Joliet, Illinois, the second of 3 children in a family held together almost entirely by his mother, Rita. After separating from their father, Rita worked relentless shifts at the Rock Island Arsenal and took on any extra work she could find. Some months she brought home less than $200. The family moved constantly, hopping between cramped apartments, sometimes losing electricity when bills went unpaid. In 1968, when Mike was 4 years old, they were evicted for non-payment of rent. That moment stayed with him. He would later say that grit and imagination were often the only tools that saved you. Despite the instability, the household was close. Mike's older sister Beth helped raise him and their younger brother Robbie, while their mother worked late into the night. The children learned independence early. By the time Mike was 5, he was wandering alleys and vacant lots, drawn to discarded objects others overlooked. Beth remembered him dragging home broken toys and rusted bikes, spreading them across the floor and insisting he could fix them. Sometimes he did. Sometimes he sold them. Occasionally, the money went toward groceries. Poverty shaped all 3 siblings, but Mike believed their closeness taught him how to negotiate, trade, and convince people to see value where they hadn't before. After the eviction, Mike began searching trash bins and curbs for items he could repair or trade. In 1969, he sold a broken toy truck to a neighbor for $2. It was the first money he earned on his own, and it sparked something permanent. For the first time, he felt control in a life that offered very little stability. That same year, Rita moved the family west to Bettendorf, Iowa, after securing a steady job at a manufacturing plant. The pay wasn't great, but it was reliable. Bettendorf sat along the Mississippi River, surrounded by farms, junkyards, and barns filled with forgotten items. For Mike, it was paradise. At 6 years old, he found a neighbor's trash bin filled with rusted bicycles. Inside was a complete 1960s Schwinn Stingray. He spent weeks cleaning it, replacing parts, and adjusting the chain by hand. When he finished, a local boy offered him $5 for it, exactly the cost of a new bike chain at Sears. That moment in 1970 became his first true pick. The sale felt enormous. He reinvested every dollar into tools and parts, slowly building a world of small hustles and repairs. By 4th grade, Mike and his friends were sneaking into junkyards after school, digging through glove compartments of abandoned cars from the 1950s. He found old maps, license plates, and paperwork, selling them door to door for pocket change. Some weeks he made $10, enough to keep him dreaming. When Rita's brief second marriage collapsed in the mid-1970s, Mike spent more time alone. He began hauling scrap metal to salvage yards, dragging radiators and pipes through alleys. Some weeks he earned more than $50, learning the value of weight, metal, and timing. By age 11, he had built custom bikes from mismatched parts and sold them for profit. The money bought his first real tool set, a socket wrench kit he still owns. At 12, he entered shop class and met Fritz. They bonded over dismantling an old radio, forming a friendship rooted in curiosity and machines. That connection would last for decades and eventually change both of their lives. Mike graduated high school in 1982. For his senior project, he restored a 1965 Vespa found in a barn and sold it for $300, using the money to visit flea markets in Chicago. The experience showed him how much bigger the world was beyond Iowa. Throughout his teens and early 20s, he worked warehouse jobs while driving hundreds of miles each week, hunting for signs, engines, and collectibles. By the mid-1980s, he bought his first pickup truck and began taking bigger risks. A restored gas pump sold for $1,200 and pushed him into 5-figure annual income for the first time. As his business grew, tensions followed. When Mike and Frank officially partnered in the late 1980s, disputes over money and credit surfaced almost immediately. Splits that favored Mike planted early resentment. Still, Mike pushed forward. In 1990, he opened antique archaeology in an old machine shop, refusing to polish away rust or age. The shop felt raw and authentic, and that honesty drew people in. By the mid-1990s, the store was thriving, especially after Mike leaned into motorcycle history, flipping rare Indian parts for massive profit. The years leading up to television were relentless. Mike drove tens of thousands of miles annually, sleeping in his van and chasing leads across the Midwest and South. He survived financial missteps, theft, and near disasters, including being stranded in the desert without water. But he never stopped believing there was a story worth telling. In 2009, that belief paid off. The History Channel bought American Pickers outright after seeing his footage. When the show premiered in 2010, nearly 6 million viewers tuned in. Overnight, Mike became the face of picking. Money poured in, but pressure followed. Negotiations with producers grew tense, fame brought stalkers, and long work weeks pulled him further from home. As the show's success grew, so did fractures in Mike's personal life. His friendship with Frank deteriorated under financial inequality and unresolved resentment. Court disputes, public accusations, and silence replaced decades of shared history. Frank would later say Mike ignored him during health crises. They never fully reconciled before Frank's death in 2024, a loss that reignited public anger and grief. Mike's marriage also collapsed under the strain. His wife filed for divorce in 2020, citing years of absence and broken promises. The settlement cost him millions, but the emotional toll ran deeper. Fame had given him everything he once dreamed of and taken much of what mattered most. Today, Wolfe continues restoring buildings, collecting history, and creating spaces rooted in small-town identity. His ventures fuel local revivals, and his collections tell stories of America's past. Yet his life stands as a reminder that success carries weight. Behind every polished relic is rust, behind every triumph is loss, and behind every dream realized is a price that only becomes clear once it's already been paid.